The federal representative to the Upper Colorado River Commission recently resigned over the Trump administration's water policy, specifically the draining of 2 California reservoirs after the deadly wildfires in L.A. To learn more about the new administration's policies on water in general and the Colorado River in particular, we welcome Sarah Porter, director of ASU's Kyle Center for Water Policy at the Morrison Institute. Good to see you.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about this representative, Ann Castle. Who is Ann Castle?
She is a real expert on the Colorado River, and she was, in the Obama administration, she was part of the team in the Interior Department that represented the federal government in negotiations and management of the Colorado River.
And
she's a lawyer.
Yeah, and she was fired by the current administration because of criticism over, this reservoir dumping thing. What was that all about?
Well, I think she was asked to resign.
Oh, okay.
But
all right.
the reservoir situation was, LA had terrible wildfires, and so there were concerns that there was insufficient water to address the firefighting needs. And the new Trump administration ordered the release of water, and it was released from 2 reservoirs that aren't connected to the system that serves the LA area. So that water actually would never reach LA and help it. And there's a question about whether they actually needed water. They had water, it just wasn't where they needed it in certain instances. But I think the bigger issue for many people is that the water management of California, and this is true of Arizona, it's really complex. And when you push in one place, you may have downstream ramifications that are significant. And so it's better not to make decisions that change water management without taking all of those impacts into account.
And again, but the president said that if these reservoirs had been emptied sooner, that the water would have been there, because we heard about the empty fire hydrants and things over Pacific Palisades. He's saying it, but it sounds to me as though this water wasn't even designed to go there.
Right, that water is meant to go and mostly be used by farms in Tulare County, in the Central Valley of California, and it just isn't connected with water supplies there are water supplies managed by the state and federal government that could get to LA, but not these.
How are farmers taking this? It sounds like Chinatown we're talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reporting that farmers are unhappy about it, and it sounds like a huge amount of water. It's 2 billion gallons. In farming terms, that's probably a couple thousand acres, the water for maybe more than that, maybe 2,000 to 4,000 acres of farmland. It's meaningful. It'll have impacts to individual farmers if, at the time when they actually do need water, which is in the warmer months, that water isn't available. In the big picture, it isn't such an enormous amount of water that we're all, suddenly having to figure out a new strategy.
But it does suggest a direction from the administration, including asking for Ann Castle to resign and losing that expertise. What does losing that expertise at this time mean to Colorado River negotiations?
Well, we are in a state of very great uncertainty with respect to the Colorado River and negotiations among the 7 states and Mexico and the federal government. And regardless of Ann Castle's resignation, we would be in great uncertainty. I don't think it's that unusual. Ann Castle was the federal representative on a body called the Upper Colorado River Commission, which exists to help create comity, cooperation among the upper division states that share Colorado River water with us down here in the lower division. And it isn't so unusual for a president to want to have his own person in that federal seat, but we really are in a place of great uncertainty, including a very important position. The Bureau of Reclamation commissioner has yet to be appointed. So we don't know.
There are vacancies at the Department of Interior, as you mentioned.
Yeah, we have an Interior Secretary, Doug Burgum. I think he's been, but he's a person who will be leading the agency that has the most responsibility for the Colorado River. And the commissioner of the Bureau of Reclamation reports to the the Secretary of Interior ultimately.
So this all again is happening as, from what I understand, and maybe the last time we talked, negotiations, talks have stalled, and the upper Colorado folks, they're the ones who are kind of saying enough's enough here. I mean, this, again, uncertainty seems to be rearing its head.
Yeah, we have not, nothing has become more certain with the change of administration, and I think the release of the water is cause for concern, that it's really important that that when we make these decisions about releasing water, that we fully understand what the impacts are to everyone. And it would be a shame. It will be a shame. From what I've read, the two reservoirs from which the water was released are down about 2%. From where they were before, but they were already at about 20%.
Yeah.
So we're talking about reservoirs that are very low in a time of drought, when farmers are going to really need every drop of water they can have to make sure that they have the irrigation to produce the food that our whole nation relies on.
And that 2026 deadline for the Colorado River Agreement's coming up.
It's very tough because we are not close to an agreement at this point, and the alternative to an agreement, as we discussed last time, is painful litigation, which nobody wants.
Sarah Porter, Kyle Center for Water Policy at ASU, the Morrison Institute. Always good information about water, and it seems like it never stops.
Probably won't stop, even if we get an agreement on the Colorado River.
That's
Thank
true.
you.
Good to
Yep.
have you here.
Thanks.